Hello and welcome to Where Women Talk. I'm Nadia Giordana. I'm delighted to bring you Laurie Ellis-Young on the program today. She is a yoga expert for over 40 years, and she's also a pioneer in breathing techniques that I'd like to learn a little bit more about. So let's not hang around here. Let's go talk to Laurie. Hi, Laurie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nadia. It's wonderful to be here.
I'm glad you had time to be with us today. I was wondering how you ever got started with these breathing techniques that I've been hearing so much about and anxious to learn about.
Okay. Well, when I was a young teenager, I started practicing yoga. And with yoga, you learn to coordinate your movements with your breath. So that made me aware that I was breathing, which probably, like most people, I wasn't aware I was breathing until then. But the big thing that happened was when I was almost 30, I began trekking in the Himalayas in Nepal. And I really learned the power of breath and what it does for stamina. There was one incident in which it was in the late afternoon. And at that time in Nepal, there weren't a lot of little tea houses, they call it, where you could stop and rest or be able to sleep and get food. You had to trek for a long ways to get to one. And I was out of energy. And I was feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm going to make this. And so I sat down by a tree because I love trees. And I love the connection between trees and the breath, the exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide. So I was sitting by the tree and I was imagining the life force of the tree and my life force, just, really starting to flow stronger through me. And that helped. And then I started to laugh because, I think we have batteries. We're just like a machine. We have a battery, and our battery is in our belly. And so when we really start to laugh, we are revving up our battery. Because after you laugh, have a really good belly laugh, the energy that you feel, right? So I energized myself that way. Right now, they call it laughter yoga. I didn't know that it was laughter yoga then, but I just knew that a good laugh got my breath in the belly, got my diaphragm working, stimulated my parasympathetic system, and it got me to the tea house. And I realized from that breath is this resource for stamina. It's physical, but it's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's energetic, it's, breath is life. So that was the onset, and I wanted to learn everything that I could after that.
Well, that's fascinating. And way back when, really, people didn't pay much attention to their breath. So then you began developing the techniques that you felt worked. Is that how that started to develop?
I searched out breath teachers all over the world. I was working for the airlines at the time. And so that gave me the opportunity to travel very easily and very economically. And so I searched out breath teachers all over the world in different places. And I learned about respiratory science. I learned pranayama, which is the yogic science of breath. I learned qigong, tai chi, different types of healing breathing. I worked on a master's in therapeutic counseling with an emphasis on breath. And I continued practicing yoga with this. But the excitement for me, Nadia, was that because of my lifestyle of living so much overseas and meeting my husband later in life, who was post-conflict psychologist. We moved around to many different places. We actually met in Guatemala, although he's from Minnesota, where I was living for a while. And we lived in Guatemala in a project outside Guatemala City, working with families that were impoverished, helping to lift them out of poverty. And whether you're underprivileged or whether, however you might be feeling that there is stress from economical stress, is that affects your breath. Any type of stress affects your breath. You're either holding your breath or you're breathing very shallowly in your upper chest. And so the techniques of just learning how to get the breath in the belly diaphragmatically, how to move from fight or flight to rest, digest, regenerate. That was my first instance in working with a different type of population, and it was fabulous. These women worked from sunrise until sundown, and it was the first time that they said, I've never been so relaxed in my life. And that went on to living in Kosovo right after the war there, working with many different types of people. I worked with a lot of UN workers, and then going to Cambodia and the Middle East, working in innovative schools with kids from over 70 different nationalities. A great desire I have is to have breath literacy established as curricula in schools from pre-K all the way up to post-grad, because a student or anybody who needs to learn can't learn when you're stressed.
Could you give us a demonstration?
A demonstration. Okay. I guess I'll preface that with saying that Dr. Andrew Weil, I don't know if you've heard of him. He has been a proponent of breath for a long time. And he says that if I could limit my advice on healthier living to one tidbit of information, it would be learn how to breathe correctly. So to that, I add two words that are easy to remember because they rhyme, and it is breathe low and slow. So one of the things I use is, I call it a breathing ball. Its actual name is a Hoberman sphere, but whether it's in schools or whether it's with adults, they love visuals. And so I will first of all just ask people to become aware of their breath. So actually right now, Nadia, I'd love to ask you to close your eyes for a moment if you're comfortable, and to just become aware of your breath. To notice when you are inhaling, notice when you are exhaling, that difference that you feel and where you feel it in your body and how you feel it in your body. Just that. It's the master practice of mindfulness, which we know has so many incredible benefits. Just knowing when you're inhaling, knowing when you're exhaling, feeling it. So the more you feel it, the more present you become in your body. The more you move from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, from fight or flight to rest and digest. You become calmer and calmer, and your breath becomes deeper. Deeper and slower. Now as you're watching your breath, noticing what your inhale is like, not changing it, but just noticing the comfortable length of your inhale. Because the breath is both involuntary and voluntary, I'm going to ask you now to make your exhale twice as long as your inhale. And just breathe like that for several more breaths. Noticing the exhale become deeper, longer. And then noticing how, because of that, your inhale also becomes a little deeper and longer. Can even be just a teeny little bit.
I'm waking up.
Did you know? So what did you experience from
That
that?
was very relaxing. I could almost go to sleep.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful technique to do for when you need to sleep.
Very
When
calm.
you can't sleep or when you wake up in the middle of the night, is don't count don't count sheep. Count your breaths. Find your natural inhalation that's comfortable. And then what that count is, maybe it's a count of 1 or 2 or 3. And then you make the exhale twice as long. That's the relaxation breath. And it is so simple, but so powerful. So that's the slow, the low in the belly and the slow.
That's wonderful. You know, Laurie, we don't have a lot of time left. I'm wondering, you have a book coming out in
Yes.
the fall, and you have a website. I'd like to know, tell us a little bit about the book, and then will give us your web address.
Okay. Well, the book is called Breath is Life. And I have realized in working with many, many different populations of all ages and all walks of life on 6 continents now, that the quality of our breath directly impacts the quality of our lives. No matter your strength, your flexibility, what you do for a living, is if you change your breath, you can change your nervous system, you can change your brain, you can change your life. And to me, it is in the big picture, it's about peace. It's about cultivating that inner peace that you just felt, Nadia, by doing what you did, and then taking that out into our relationships, more peaceful relationships, and a more peaceful, conscious world. It's that big. What the awareness, what you just did, that practice is that big. So it's Breath is Life, and it's filled with stories of from my husband and I. My husband is he's been working in neuropsychology and post-conflict psychology, and he's developed many programs. Right now he's in Ukraine, developing a program for the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, a mental health program to deal with PTSD in preventing instead of, the after effects. And so he is part of the book, and we share our own personal stories, but we share other people's stories also. And we have been told by early readers that it is a book that truly changes lives and is fun to read. So the website, I have 2 websites. One is called breathethechange.com. And another one, because I have a nonprofit with a wonderful woman, Nancy Chakran, that is called breathlogic.org. So on those websites, you can find a lot of different information and also practices that you can incorporate into your daily life to really feel the power, harness the extraordinary power in our ordinary breath.
That's so wonderful. Thank you, Laurie, for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Nadia, for having me.
Hopefully we'll get to do this again another time.
I hope so.
All right. Thanks, Laurie. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was interesting, and I learned some new things. I hope you did too. Thank you for watching today, and we'll see you next time on Where Women Talk.